Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off with a small CLP around Giga Pack, Wolfpack, AFC, and our player characteristics. Our player characteristics are the core values that we want to instill in every player before we look at the full player profiles as we continue to move forward. The player characteristics are centered around the Wolfpack philosophy and identity that we maintain here at the club, that we leave no one behind, and no matter what age or anyone who comes to our club, they become part of our Wolfpack. Every player is one of our young cubs, so in that sense, we must nurture them and support them on their development. And as we talk about our player characteristics and what we'd like to instill in each of our players, they're young cubs, and that's how we lead them on their journey, on their way forward, and how they can do it through being part of the wolf pack. As we look at some of the core characteristics, I've highlighted mindfulness and resilience as the two key centre parts as we move forward in developing our players of the future and leading them on what we call their journey. For me, I want to ensure that it's key to be mindful and ensure that it is constantly called the journey, and we must get this built into them from a young age and keep hammering home this key message. It is their journey and it is what they're working towards. We want to work in synergy with all the stakeholders, the parents, carers, no matter who bring these kids. They understand that we're a wolf pack. They're young cubs, they're there to be nurtured, they're on their own journey, and it's how we support them to move forward. Yes, it's going to be tough at times, and we want to make it as enjoyable and as fun as possible. And remembering those fundamentals that we keep talking about, but how we instill player characteristics of what we expect here at the Wolfpack. As we fly through some of these, mindfulness and resilience I'll go further into in a moment, but commitment to the team, commitment to the coach, commitment to training, commitment to the club. They want to be there to learn. They want to be there not only for training, for games, they're there for off the pitch events as well. They're showing that they want to be involved in the Wolfpack mentality. They're there off the pitch. They're there for all the events and to take part and to support the club in the delivery of these and to always be there. It's key to be committed at anything in life, and we're instilling life lessons into these players, especially from a young age. But the commitment to the club and what the Wolfpack mentality is. So if any player at any point ends up leaving, they can remember I was committed to the Wolfpack, or the Wolfpack ensured commitment meant this to me. Honesty. If a player can't be honest with themselves, they're not going to understand their player characteristics. They're not going to understand how to take on feedback. They're not going to understand where they need to improve. And we need to maintain that in each and every player. Understanding feedback from any coach, even their parent at times, in supporting that process, that they must develop and they're there to grow. And that interlinks with their emotional awareness. Sometimes it's hard, especially from a young age, to take on feedback and to be told you need to improve or you're not as good as this. And again, it comes down to our communication as coaches and how we put this forward. However, we need to interlink honesty and emotional awareness together. We need to be honest with the player and they need to be honest with us. If they come back and say, Coach, I didn't enjoy that session, or Coach, I don't think we should do this, or Coach, maybe we can do this, we need to have an open pathway to allow our players to be involved in the planning of training and what the identity of the Wolfpack is as we've instilled. Our players were highly involved in creating this Wolfpack mentality, which all stemmed from a game plan 1 week into a team philosophy, now into a club. As we talk about the Wolfpack, the badge itself was created by one of our players, and we need to ensure that the players are involved at all times and that we're leading them on their journey. We need them to be honest with us so we can have those open conversations and to build in communicational elements as we build our relationships with our players. If they're emotionally aware, they'll be determined to go away and look at their feedback and their individual development points of how they can learn and move forward. Every player must be caring. They're part of a wolf pack. They must care for their teammates. They must care if they put in a hard tackle on the opposition and they want to help them up. We want to create an identity of a club that is supportive and nurturing, that provides high quality standards within coaching and training, with teams that are successful, but successful through the purpose of fun, allowing players to learn, of which on their journey they're going to become very strong teams and would win on their pathway. But if other clubs and other teams and other players see us as being caring and supporting of one another, and they know entirely what a wolf pack means just by looking at us, then we're instilling essential values into our young players. Confidence. We want players to be confident all time, and that interlinks with everything we see here. Confidence to be able to talk to the coach, confidence to take on feedback and to apply it within training sessions. Confidence to go in training and say, I want to be the captain today. Or confidence in a game, I'm going to take this shot. I'm going to take the free kick. We want our players to be confident because it's going to allow them to take on key roles such as being a captain or a team leader or even an assistant player coach when we can develop our players into. Confidence is key at all times, and if they can develop their communication through confidence, then they're going to be happy. They're happy with the relationship that they have with teammates, happy with their relationship with the coach, happy with training, happy that they can take on feedback, happy that they can give feedback to the coach, happy that they've taken the confidence to go and have a shot and score a goal, or they're happy that they've got a shot. I was watching a game through the under 11s earlier today, and one of our not so technical, able players was within the game. And we have to be honest with him, and he has to be honest with us. We need to be honest together that we're not afraid to say that he is a lesser technical player, because unless we don't, then how's he going to develop and how are we going to push him? But I was watching him today, and I was assessing the fact that he had lesser touches than some of our players up front. And that's because he didn't have the confidence to go and run with the ball. That's because he didn't have the confidence to go and take a shot. Now, he doesn't have the confidence because he's lesser technical than the players around him. So it's great that he's in an environment where the players can nurture and develop him. And over time, we will see an improvement within that confidence. But overall, the key element there was that he was happy. He was happy to be involved. He was happy that he had game time on the pitch. He was happy that he's learning through the process. And it's all about his journey. And even though he doesn't have the confidence now, where can he be in 3 months, 6 months, a year's time? So there's a lot to consider around that player there. But it's all about that journey and pathway. Emotional awareness, I will touch on again. But here we are. We must be aware ourselves as coaches when we need to improve training or when we need to improve our game and match day management, when we need to improve our communication and how we support our players. It can be hard sometimes when you spent so much time planning and you're there early at training, you're there late, and you've been in work all week, and then a player says, "Coach, that was rubbish." That's difficult to take on board, especially as someone who's going into a session highly planned and energized by the fact that they're seeing their players and the player hasn't enjoyed it. Sometimes this can be the way, and in life, not everyone's going to enjoy everything. Sometimes a player won't, but as coaches and players, if we can create an environment where we understand our emotions and it's fine to express them within the training environment and how we support them. If a player wants to break down in tears, we need to understand why. But they're completely allowed to break down in tears. We want them to be in an environment where they can show all their emotions so we can support them. Because if they're in that environment where they can show those emotions, they'll know that their teammates and their coach cares about them and that they can come in and be comfortable with the team around them. We want to instill this family element. We're not just a Wolfpack, we're more than a football club. We are a family here at the club, and that is everything we want to instill within our standards. We want our players to be determined to be better, determined to learn, determined to be on the pitch with one another, determined to do it for the badge, determined to keep improving. And that's what we want to instill in every player, which will breed all of these characteristics as they develop one. They must be a team player. As I've said, we are a wolf pack. We come together. We must support one another. So sometimes releasing the ball or giving possession or being part of a team, supporting from the sidelines, being there for off the events, being within the team itself, they are a team player. Always there for one another. Being aware. Again, interlinks with emotional awareness, but we need to be aware, which interlinks with mindfulness of the emotions of others, the lesser technical ability of others, the lesser psychological understanding. So if a player has game understanding but they don't have game intelligence, then we're aware of that and how we can support that player. And that's what creates a true Wolfpack player, is that they understand the lesser abilities of their teammates and how they support them and they come together to improve. You may have a player who's really good technically and a player next to them who is lesser technical within one area, such as their passing, and how we support that player in improving their passing. Now, you may have been that really technical able player in passing, but your technical ability may be lesser than the player on your left who has a really good shot and their shooting is really good. So and then that player who's really good at passing needs to learn how to shoot. So it's all about creating that environment of awareness of learning together, being aware that where and when they're on the pitch, how they can improve, and where that training is about impacting them, and that is part of their journey and pathway to keep improving. We have some players who are perfectionists and expect the very best. As coaches, we get this, and we need to be aware of that player who wants to be a perfectionist and understand why they're beating themselves up, even though the team is 6-0 up and they've scored 5. Something has gone wrong within a process on that pitch at that time, and they've not been happy with it. And we need to be aware of that, and they need to be aware that it is allowed, that they can make mistakes, and that even if the game isn't going as well as they'd like it to, then there's always next time, next week, because we're on a pathway. It's their journey. Sometimes at an elite level, there isn't that time frame. There isn't next week. There isn't a next game. But we're talking about standard grassroots football. And there is time. Grassroots is ongoing, and we want to create lifelong members of the sport. If they want to continue developing, even after we finish as coaches at any point, or the team finishes, then it's still their journey, and they're aware of what they can do. They must be willing to do it for the team, playing in a different position, being adaptable, willing to try out something new, willing to take the information on board, willing to go away and try and improve, willing to help their teammates, willing to be there off the pitch, willing to be there early. Now, I'm going to talk more about the non-negotiables of our players in a further CLP, but willingness is absolutely key and builds into those non-negotiables. Now, I want to highlight mindfulness. Mindfulness is that psychological aspect of where we consider everything about ourselves, and that we're mindful of our communication and language, mindful of what we say and how we say it, mindful of our players around us, mindful of ourselves and how we can improve. This is a big area that I'm going to focus further on in another CLP, but I'm going to expand mindfulness because it's such a wide area and how it further supports all of our players. It is absolutely key that each of our player is mindful of their own performance and mindful of the players around them. Now, this is huge. Resilience. Resilience for me at the moment is something that kids are lacking within the modern day, and it's how we create that resilience to move forward. Resilience that if they get kicked, they're not going to go down and not going to cry, or if they do cry, it's bounce back up, they're straight in the game, and that was part of the game. Yes, sometimes a free kick will be rewarded, but we don't want a player to come off the pitch because they've been kicked, because they felt that it's hurt them and they've come off. We want a kid to be like, I got kicked, he didn't mean it, I'm going to play on. Or he did mean it, and I need to channel my aggression into playing well. I need to be resilient to the fact that I am going to get kicked. I may be a real technical player in terms of the way I dribble, take on players, 1v1s, love running with the ball, and that I'm going to get kicked because I'm quicker and they can't keep up with me, or they don't want me to run with the ball, or they want to try and injure me. That's the way of the world in football, and there are some tactics at times which are unethical. But in terms of resilience, we must overcome these challenges. We must be like, I'm going to improve. Resilient in terms of how we take on feedback. If the opposition has said something offensive to us, of course, as coaches in the club, we're going to address it. But as a player, if someone has said something, it means absolutely nothing and it's gone over my head, or I've channeled it in my performance. Resilient in the fact that we are going to come up against tough teams and we are going to lose. Okay, we don't want to lose every week, and we don't want to take a hammering because it's going to waste our time. As a club, we're going to be aware of that, but resilient to the fact that we are going to lose and we must overcome it together. Resilience in the fact that we may come up against players who are better than us, and how we must improve to become better players. Resilient to the fact that there could be changes within a training session, or changes within the coaching program, or we may be in a session where we're not as technically able as we were in a session a week before, and that this session's all about challenging us and trying to have the bigger impact. But that's what we must understand. When I talk of we, as if I'm in the mindset of a player, and how I'd like to see things from a player point of view, and how we amalgamate this together within one profile to create these key player characteristics to support them on their journey. But resilience is absolutely key. As we continue to get new and young players through, we want to keep supporting them and nurturing them and develop their resilience. At the moment, the under 11s are a fantastic example of resilience because they've been together for years and they've been playing together in the league and they've played up against older age groups over the years. They've been kicked. They've come up against strong teams. They've had games where they've had teams run rings around them, but they've become resilient. And if they do get kicked now, it's let the coach address it. We play on until the coach says something. I'm not going to react to that. I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to improve. I'm going to try and score. We want to do it for our team. If they want to kick us and they leave the losing team, we're the bigger winners. So resilience is absolutely key, and we must keep hammering on these key messages of resilience, the journey, being mindful. And these are all key player characteristics. So this is just a short CRP of some of the areas I'd like to address in terms of our key player characteristics. I'm further going to address the non-negotiables as we move forward, but here are some of the areas of our young cubs in the player characteristics I want to embed in them, especially from a young age, and build into their journey of how we move forward. I look forward to developing all of our players and growing, and certainly allowing them to build together and develop as young players of the future in their lifelong journey as cubs, as members of our wolf pack. These characteristics will allow them to make their own life choices and give them as many opportunities as possible. Remember, it's not all about on the pitch. Off the pitch can support the players as much as possible. We can do resilience training and mindfulness with them, and it's how we expand this away from the pitch and support them on the pitch as well. We want to look at the bigger picture and the long-term journey, but here is just a short CLP around our player characteristics. As ever, I'd like to thank you for your time and support. I want to look forward to building a creative future, one of openness and transparency of where we can come together as coaches to impact our young players. Thank you for now, and I look forward to our future CLPs. The Resilient Coach, Luca.